This meeting is called to order. Delegate Kipke, if you could give us the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
States
of
of
the United
America
States of America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunities to serve our communities and our state. We ask you to give us guidance, to give us thoughtfulness, and to give us compassion for each other. We ask you for the strength to get through the work that's before us, to keep all of us healthy and safe. And we ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Delegate Kipke. So today we have many guests who will be testifying. So I'm not going to introduce our witnesses, but I would like to acknowledge our esteemed senators who are here. We have Senator Elfreth present, and Senator Bidel is probably here somewhere. Yes, she is. Okay, and Senator Bidel is present. And then everyone else you'll get introduced as, when we have our witnesses. I don't think we have anyone else present. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We're going to do rapid work this morning because we all have a 9:30 cut, actually 9:28 cutoff, so that we can walk over to the other Zoom meeting at 9:30. With that said, we're going to start with voting on our bills. Is there a motion on House Bill 662?
So moves.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion? Secretary, please call the roll.
On House Bill 662, Delegate Bagnall,
Yes.
Delegate Barnes, Delegate Carey, Delegate Chang,
Yes.
Delegate Chisholm,
Yes.
Delegate Henson,
No.
Delegate Howard,
Yes.
Delegate Jones, Delegate Kipke,
Yes.
Delegate Lehman,
Yes.
Delegate Malone, Delegate Pena-Melnick,
Yes.
Delegate Rogers,
Yes.
Delegate Saab, Delegate Bartlett, Chairman Bartlett.
Yes, and if you don't mind, we have some more members who were not in at that moment. If you could circle back to those who were.
Madam Chairman, I was trying to vote and ask a question, but I wasn't able to.
Okay. So what we're going to do, since we're on the vote, Delegate Saab, we're going to circle back to anyone who was
No, what are we voting on? What bill are we voting on? I didn't.
We're
hear that.
voting on House Bill 662, which is the property tax credit for business entities, state of emergency, sponsored by Delegate Chisholm.
Okay, I got it. Yes, I vote yes. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Secretary, if you would just, for those individuals who could not unmute in time or who were not present, could you just circle back to them and then we'll close the vote?
Yes, Madam Chair. Delegate Barnes,
Yes.
Delegate Carey,
Yes. Yes.
Delegate Henson,
No.
Delegate
That's
Jones.
crazy.
Yes. Can you hear me, Chairwoman? Yes.
Yes. Delegate Malone. It's not there. Okay. Uh, 13. Madam Chair, the vote is 13-1 and the motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. If you could please provide the appropriate committee with a letter of support from the delegation. Delegate Dana Jones, did you have a question?
No, Chairwoman, I just wanted to make sure that I was recorded. I just wanted, because I had a technical difficulty. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Very good. So.
And
next we're
Madam-
going to- Yes. I couldn't see who's.
Chair, I also, for some reason, was having it difficult being logged on. I would like to be recorded also as a yay.
Okay. Madam Secretary, have you heard that? We're gonna, I believe that changes the vote to 14-1.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, please send a letter accordingly. Now I'm going to turn it over to Vice Chair and Vice Chair Rogers and Chair of the Alcohol Subcommittee with respect to report on House Bill 679.
Okay, good morning, colleagues. House Bill 679, Class MT license. This bill was voted out of the Alcohol Subcommittee this morning with a couple amendments. I'll ask our counsel to cover the amendments for us real quickly.
Morning, everyone. With the amendments, the bill allows a license holder to, or requires a license holder to only serve a patron a single serving of beer or wine at a time, with a maximum of 2 servings of beer or wine per patron per day. A patron is allowed to drink the alcoholic beverage in the lobby or screening area of the movie theater. The license holder may not allow an alcohol purchased at the movie theater to be removed from the licensed premises. And the holder of an alcoholic beverage license for a movie theater may renew the license only as a movie theater license.
And I would
Is there,
go ahead, Chair Bartlett.
well, I didn't know if you had any additional amendments, Delegate Rogers. Is there a motion on the amendment?
Move the amendment.
Is there a
Second.
second on the amendment?
Second.
Second.
There is a motion to move the amendment. Is there any discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Madam Chairman, on the amendment to House Bill 679, Delegate Bagnell,
Yes.
Delegate Barnes,
Yes.
Delegate Carey,
Yes.
Delegate Chang,
Yes.
Delegate Chisholm,
Yes.
Delegate Henson,
Yes.
Delegate Howard,
Yes.
Delegate Jones,
Yes.
Delegate Kipke,
Yes.
Delegate Lehman,
Yes.
Delegate Malone,
Yes.
Delegate Payne-Melnick,
Yes.
Delegate Rogers,
Yes.
Delegate Saab,
Yes.
Chairman Bartlett.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is 15-0 and the motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. If you could provide the appropriate letter to the Economic Matters Committee. And we have some amendment to the agenda. We will not.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
we need to move the bill.
excuse
Move
me.
the bill as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Yeah, second.
Please call the roll.
Delegate Bagnell on.
Before-
Yes.
Excuse me, before calling the roll, are there any questions on the motion to move the bill as amended?
Move the bill as amended.
Second.
No, are there any questions? It has been moved
Oh.
and properly second. Are there any questions? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Delegate Bagnell,
Yes.
Delegate Barnes,
Yes.
Delegate Carey,
Yes.
Delegate Chang,
Yes.
Delegate Chisholm,
Yes.
Delegate Henson,
Yes.
Delegate Howard,
Yes.
Delegate Jones,
Yes.
Delegate Kipke,
Yes.
Delegate Lehman,
Yes.
Delegate Malone,
Yes.
Delegate Payne-Melnick,
Yes.
Delegate Rogers,
Yes.
Delegate Saab,
Yes.
Chairman Bartlett.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is 15-0 and the motion passes.
Thank you. Now, if you would prepare a letter to the Economic Matters Committee accordingly,
Madam Chair,
report of the delegation. Yes, Vice Chair Rogers.
just wanted to report that the Alcohol Subcommittee has decided to have further dialogue with respect to House Bill 680 and House Bill 900. And so we hope to report out on those two bills next delegation meeting.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Rogers. With that in mind, we will hold House Bill 680 and House Bill 900. Moving now to House Bill 843, the Natural Resources Fishing with Haul Sign for Anne Arundel County, sponsored by Delegate Howard. Is there a motion for the bill?
So moved.
Second.
It has been properly moved and second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On House Bill 843, Delegate Bagnell,
Yes.
Delegate Barnes,
Yes.
Delegate Carey,
Yes.
Delegate Chang,
Yes.
Delegate Chisholm,
Yes.
Delegate Henson,
Yes.
Delegate Howard,
Yes.
Delegate Jones,
Yes.
Delegate Kipke,
Yes.
Delegate Lehman,
Yes.
Delegate Malone,
Yes.
Delegate Payne-Melnick,
Yes.
Delegate Rogers,
Yes.
Delegate Saab,
Yes.
Chairman Bartlett.
Yes.
Madam Chairman, the vote is 15-0 and the motion passes.
Thank you. Please prepare a letter of support from the Anne Arundel County House delegation to the appropriate committee. Next, we're going to move on to our bill hearings. Our first bill is House Bill 901 by request of the County Executive Administration. This is a hotel tax alteration distribution of revenue. I believe we're going to have testimony by the county exec's office, and not seeing the county exec on. I believe Mr. Pete Barron will be giving testimony to introduce the bill.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The county executive is coming from another meeting, so he should be walking over to this Zoom shortly. I have texted him, so if he does arrive, I'll pass the ball over to him.
He's in the waiting room right now. He's coming right now.
Oh, excellent. Just hang on for a second.
Okay, great. So, Mr. County Exec, we were just getting ready to start the introduction of House Bill 901, the County Hotel Tax Alterations Distribution of Revenue. I will, before we begin the hearings, I've to make sure.
Madam Chair, you're on mute.
Well, you guys didn't get to hear me sing my song. I was singing.
It was beautiful.
Mr. County Exec, I was saying that we were getting ready to ask you to introduce House Bill 901, the hotel tax alteration distribution of revenue. Before doing so, however, I would like to remind everyone, we have a very quick agenda today because we have to leave. We have to adjourn around 9:28 so that members can go to their respective caucuses. With that said, witnesses will have 2 minutes. However, you do not need to use the entire 2 minutes. There will be a strict time on you, and I will have to interrupt you if you go beyond that time because we have quite a large amount of witnesses. We will not have Congressman Brown and Skip All from the library speaking today. Mr. County Exec, have I stalled long enough and you're ready to go?
Yes, thank you so much, Chairwoman.
Great. So you have approximately 3 minutes. Again, you don't have to use all that time though. Thank you.
No, and I probably won't because this is such good legislation that I don't think it needs a whole lot of a case made for it. And I want to thank Senator Bidle and Senator Elfreth for their work on this. It's simply for Visit Annapolis and Arundel to require them to do reporting, give us the authority to withhold funds if they don't do their reporting, the reason is that they are a quasi-public agency like a lot of the others that we deal with, but most of the other quasi-public agencies come before us and present a budget and are reviewed by the auditor and are under the same kinds of protections of taxpayers' funds that the government is. And for whatever reason, we were surprised. I was surprised when I came in that was not the case for this organization. And so it's just a good government, monitoring how taxpayers' money is being used, kind of a bill. And so we encourage you to support it. And I believe that, that the organization doesn't have a problem with it either. It'll just protect everybody and make sure those funds are being spent wisely. Doesn't change the formula. There's some technical things for Annapolis that I believe Annapolis can talk about, but the formula stays the same for how the funds get spent.
Great, thank you. Less time. And I would ask you, because I am not sure, because we have so many witnesses, who is your first witness? If there are any.
Mayor Buckley should be here, Madam Chair.
Mayor Buckley, thank you for being here. Good to see you. So you will have 2 minutes as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Good morning. 2 Fridays in a row. I feel like I'm with a bunch of old friends now. I'm getting more used to this. So I'm here to strongly support House Bill 901. I want to thank Delegate Sandy Bartlett, Madam Chair, for sponsoring this in the House, and Senator Sarah Elfreth for the companion Senate legislation. This bill puts forward a funding source that is a great way for the City of Annapolis to utilize our portion of hotel tax revenue. This is not an additional tax burden, but rather a reallocation of existing tax funds. Again, we are not asking for an increase in taxes during this time of a pandemic. We are not asking Annapolis or Anne Arundel taxpayers for any additional funding. We're simply taking those dollars brought in to us by tourists who pay hotel tax and allocating them to align better with our city's priorities. And art is a priority for the City of Annapolis. It's a big priority. We are an historic city with an amazing and tragic and beautiful stories to tell. One of the ways we do this is through art, ever evolving and ever changing public art. Our Art in Public Places Commission is a group of dedicated volunteers who work to approve murals and statues, art programs, including our popular concert and dancing at the City Dock series. Some of you have probably enjoyed that before the pandemic, and I'm looking forward to having a dance with you after, because Australians are really good dancers. AIPPC selects our poet laureate. They acquire and display art and facilitate the preservation of art objects and artifacts displayed in public places. Before I was mayor, I was a businessman in Annapolis and an advocate for public art. Public art is the great equalizer.
Mayor Buckley, if you don't mind, if you could wrap up, please.
2 minutes. So thank you for your support on this. I really appreciate all the hard work that you are all doing. Looking forward to getting back to normal at the next session and going out and having a drink with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other witnesses for House Bill 901? I am seeing No indication of any other witnesses for House Bill 901. Are there any questions for the administration on House Bill 901? Delegate Carey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I couldn't figure out, it's too early in the morning, couldn't figure out how to electronically raise my hand. But so either Mayor Buckley or County Executive Pittman. So basically what this bill does, and I'm very surprised, there's no accountability. So this provides some accountability. I mean, you can go in there and audit their records, and I just don't understand how this happened, how we went on for so long, particularly when we're giving them the hotel tax and all of those things. They're making serious money. So
yeah, I think you pegged it, and I can see both the senators nodding their heads who worked on this. Senator Bidle and Senator Elfreth really dug into the situation, and I want to thank them for that. But so yeah, it was. I mean, they don't get all of the hotel, but they get 17%, but it's still a significant amount of money. You're right. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
No, I just want to
gives us
thank
the
the
tools.
senators and Delegate Bartlett for this bill. But so this is an accountability bill.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you, Delegate Carey. I couldn't tell who's first, but Senator Elfreth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Delegate Carey, I completely agree. Senator Vital and I can kind of mark when we first started this, working on this issue back to when we adjourned last session. It's been that long. But I think we were all shocked at the lack of accountability. We see this as a General Assembly with MES, with UMS, with USM, and it was time to kind of check that public trust. And I will say, to the credit of the current board, they engaged Maryland nonprofits, revamped the bylaws, are re-examining the board membership. They're doing the right things, but we absolutely need this extra level of accountability.
Thank you, Senator Elfreth. Delegate Kipke?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just out of curiosity, is there any kind of scandalous thing that's being investigated that you're aware of as it relates to prior use of funds?
No more than you've read in the newspaper.
Okay, I didn't know if there's anything else.
I mean, there were some major questions raised, and I think the board is brought in auditors to look at that, and that's why they're doing a lot of their best practices for nonprofits that they didn't do before with their oversight. But this is in addition to that for us for the future to be able to have the government oversight.
Great, thank you.
And Delegate Kipke, they're doing an excellent job to turn things around. We call the soap opera As the Sailboat Turns, because there's a lot of things going on there that we're getting fixed, but it has been a soap opera, but it's so good to see them get it back on track, and they're doing an excellent job now.
Great, thank you, Delegate.
Chairman, can I make a comment, please?
Yes, Senator Vital.
Just real quickly, Senator Elfreth and I sat in a lot of their meetings as we were watching their governance and all the changes being made, but we need to do a shout out to the chairman, Gary Jobson, for the work he's done. I mean, he, as a volunteer, this has almost become a full-time job for Mr. Jobson. So we owe him a debt of gratitude for the work he's done in his leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Vital. Next, we have Senator Stop, and somebody needs to be muted. If staff could mute whoever needs to be muted, please. Thank you. Delegate Saab.
I'm sorry, I didn't have a question. I was switching between my phone and my laptop.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, Delegate Saab. So are there any other questions on the bill, House Bill 901? Seeing none, let's move to the bill hearing on House Bill 933. Mr. Vice Chair, I need you to please chair the meeting so that I can introduce House Bill 933.
Yes, Madam Chair. Continue.
Thank you. So House Bill 933 is a is a mechanism to set up a fund or an enabling legislation to allow the county council to set a amount on a tax amount on the sale or conveyance of real property that is at 1 million or above. You will hear in testimony the amount of these types of sales, and just keep in mind this is an enabling legislation for the county council. The county council will take it from there. I actually have witnesses today, and I'd like for those witnesses to be heard. Mr. Vice Chair, the best bet would be to have Madam Secretary to advise on the witnesses because we have so many and I couldn't quite tell you who's who.
Okay, totally understand. Are there any questions for the sponsor, for Delegate Bartlett? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, could you call the first witness?
First witness, County Executive Stuart Pittman.
County Executive. You're on mute, County Executive. If you could unmute.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Delegate Rogers, and thank you to everybody who's worked on this. Yeah, let me just start out by saying that it's not a secret that Anne Arundel County has had a lot of luxury homes built in recent decades. In fact, so many that there's a glut on the market. And when they did the reassessments the last couple of times, those homes actually dropped in value a little bit while the rest of the homes were increasing in value because there was so much more demand for the more affordable homes. But it's an area where I think there's consensus. The Chamber of Commerce, builders, realtors, they all agree that Anne Arundel County has an affordable housing problem and it's growing. And we have data on that from ACDS, particularly for renters, overburdened, cost burden renters. But we came in and worked with a lot of advocates and a lot of you on a plan. And we've passed two bills, a workforce housing bill that helps us with some zoning issues, a fair housing bill. The county was actually targeted for lawsuits under Fair Housing Act by a group of Maryland organizations back in the fall of 18, and they've backed off for now. But we need to show progress, and we want to show progress. So we have increased funding for rental assistance through the general fund in Anne Arundel County. And we're doing eviction prevention work, which unfortunately is going to grow. But we have said from the beginning that like other counties, we need some sort of an affordable housing fund that we can assist with the projects to create more affordable housing. The builders all say they can't make it affordable without some government assistance. There are federal and state programs, but most of the Central Maryland counties have programs in addition to that and county funding. So we wanted a source and we looked at what others have done to create a source and came up with this bill. We need state authority to do what we proposed. And what it is, it's an increase in the real estate transfer tax. There's already a real estate transfer tax of 1%, much lower than our neighbors who are at around 1.5, but an increase only for properties that transfer valued over $1 million. And that's both commercial and residential. So we don't know that if you pass this bill authorizing this, whether the county council will make a decision to do this as their funding source, but it gives them that option. Otherwise, it comes out of the general fund and all of the taxpayers. So it's been done elsewhere and been successful. Howard County, they passed authorizing
Mr. County
legislation.
Executive, I'm gonna need to ask you to wrap up, summarize.
Okay. Howard County passed this last year, and we want the authority in Anne Arundel County to be able to make this kind of progress.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for the County Executive? All right, Madam Secretary, if we could go to the next witness.
Mayor Buckley.
Mayor Buckley.
I don't think I'm one of the witnesses here, but obviously we strongly support anything that can assist people with affordable housing. It's one of the biggest challenges we have in municipalities. And so we strongly support some programs like this. And thank you for letting me speak, even though I wasn't on the bill here, but thank you.
Always a pleasure to have you speak, Mayor Buckley, and thank you for yielding some time to the next witness. Madam Secretary, next witness.
Aaron Karpowitz.
Aaron, you're up.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I am from Arundel Community Development Services, and Mr. Pittman referred to some of the data on housing needs that ACDS collects. And I just wanted to share that even before the pandemic, we did a housing needs assessment right before the pandemic. And it showed that about half of our low income and moderate income households were severely cost burdened. That's not just people, living below poverty. It's people who are making $78,000 a year for a family of four. Very severely cost burdened. About 21% of those are paying more than 50% of their income for housing. And the county has just enough stock to serve about half of our households who are making $50,000 and below. So, we think that there's a big need, and that need is even more in focus now because of the pandemic. The people who are affected by the pandemic the most were already kind of living on the edge. And the best way to create new affordable housing is to have some subsidies so that those developers can make it work. The state low-income housing tax credit program is extremely competitive. We have developers in our county now that are finding properties, but they're not able to always access those low-income housing tax credits from the state. So this will give us another resource that will be really helpful to leverage other funding. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Karpowitz. Are there any questions for Ms. Karpowitz? All right, Madam Secretary, who's our next witness?
Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Saab.
I actually have a question in general on the bill, not just specific with the witness. So I'm trying to understand. So if I may, the county executive is asking the authority to raise the transfer tax on all homes that are selling for over $1 million to use that fund to subsidize workforce housing?
Subsidize.
The legislation is enabling legislation to allow the county council to determine whether or not they will allow a transfer tax on houses that are 1 million or above. They will set the amount, and they may not do it at all. If it is allowed, then it will be used for low income and affordable housing. There will be a housing fund.
Is there a limit on the increase?
There is not a limit on the increase at this moment.
Madam Chairman, can I have the county executive? I'm sorry, can I have
Well,
him?
I'm the sponsor, the bill sponsor. That's why I was answering your questions, because I'm the bill
I
sponsor.
understand, but you're doing it on his behalf, so I'd like for him to.
Delegate Saab.
Well, this one actually is not on
allow Delegate Bartlett to continue. Delegate Bartlett, please continue.
because the point is, Delegate Saab, my answers are not incorrect. So you're getting the answer to your question, and that is that it would allow the county council to set the amount. And there will be, it would also allow a public hearing so that anyone who has a problem with it can testify at the public hearing with the county council.
So you're giving, well, I'm still, again, so we're giving the county council a blank check, so to speak, to raise the taxes as well as they please. If they think it's appropriate to use that fund for workforce housing.
That question, if Mr. County Exec wants to answer that question, that's fine. But the point is that it does give the county council the authority to set the amount.
With no limit. With no limit.
Mr. County Executive, please.
Yeah, just like there's no limit on the, this is the transfer tax, the recordation tax, we could go up. But we want to do it. We want to target this to the part of the market where the funds exist, so that we're not hurting the people who we're trying to help at the lower end of the market. So yeah, it gives the county council the authority to make this decision, as they do on other things as well.
And, okay, I mean, we can talk about this later, but this is very misguided by having something that is giving an absolutely no limit on something that, but we can talk about this later. I just continue with the hearing now, but thank you.
All right, thank you, Delegate Saab. Delegate Bagnell, and then Delegate Chisholm afterwards.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and Madam Chair, for bringing this bill forward. Can you just confirm this is authorizing legislation not dissimilar to HB 662? Is that correct?
Authorizing, yes.
Excuse me, I didn't.
This is just authorizing legislation not dissimilar to the bill we just voted on. Is that correct?
Right. It's just authorizing the county council to do this if they choose.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate Barr. Delegate Chisholm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a technical question, and I know that this is just enabling legislation, but I'm sure that it's been thought out over on the county executive and the county council side. So if it's $1 million and above, we're going to change the transfer taxes. The transfer tax the same all the way to $1 million, and then let's say you sell a property $1.5 million. The increased transfer tax is just on the $1 million to $1.5 million, or is it on the total $1.5 million? Much like income, once you go above a certain income, then your tax rate increases. But right now, let's say for easy sake, let's say transfer tax is 3% in Anne Arundel County on any property. We pass this enabling legislation, and you decide that anything over $1 million should be a 5% transfer tax. Is it 3% to $1 million, and then it goes to 5% for the $1 million to $1.5 million, or is it just it's over $1 million, so it's 5% for the whole 1.5%? I mean 1.5 million. I hope that makes sense, because I think it's important.
Right.
I was just, well,
go ahead,
you
Mr.
may have an
Connolly.
answer to this. I was assuming that this is a decision that the council would be making when they write their legislation, whether it's a graduated or whether it's for the whole thing. But there may be, I know we have Hannah Dyer from the budget office may have an answer on that, or Pete, but if not, I think it falls to the council.
Okay, so what we're going to do, thank you, Mr. County Executive, Delegate Chisholm. We're going to go ahead. We have a couple more witnesses. We want to get through the witnesses, and we do want to try to get to Delegate Chisholm's bill hearing if we can. So, Madam Secretary, are there any other witnesses for this bill?
Melissa Maddox Evans.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. We are in support. Housing Authority of the City of Annapolis is in support of House Bill 33 for two major reasons. One, the redevelopment needs of affordable housing are great. And two, the needs of our citizens are great as far as their access to affordable housing. It costs a great deal of money to develop affordable housing. In order to develop the remainder of our public housing units, for example, 712 units, it will cost us in upwards of close to $90 million. We cobble together federal, state, county, city, local funds, any funds that we have access to be able to accomplish this, because although we provide affordable housing, to develop affordable housing is not affordable. It's extremely expensive. And so any access to funds that will enable us to be able to preserve our affordable housing stock and increase our affordable housing stock would be appreciated. And also our goal is to create more mixed income communities so that we can create the diversity that we sorely need in our communities. Also, who needs affordable housing is great and is changing, especially due to the pandemic. We have our calls for affordable housing needs have increased exponentially since the pandemic. You have people who have lost their jobs, who are now at home taking care of family members, who now have to be home taking care of children, who cannot work to the level that they were able to work. So that means they don't have the income to be able to participate in the private market. They're asking us, can you provide us more housing? We only have a limited housing stock. We would love to increase our housing capabilities, but we are of course limited. So any access housing authorities can have to additional funds to help us meet the needs of our citizens would be greatly appreciated for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maddox Evans. Madam Secretary, who do we have next?
Next, Madam Chair, Mr. Co-Chair, we have against the bill Jason Brand, Anne Arundel County Realtors.
Okay, Ms. Brand.
Good morning. I'm the Senior Vice President of Government Affairs for the Anne Arundel County Association of Realtors, who, along with the Maryland Realtors, the Maryland Land Title Association, and the Maryland Mortgage Bankers and Brokers Association, oppose HB 933. Rather than repeat our written testimony, which you have, I just wanted to highlight a few items. We are not opposed to the idea of funding a housing trust. However, we are opposed to funding it with revenue from transfer taxes and recordation taxes, an extremely volatile source of rent revenue, a source that will lack funds just when they're needed most, and a source that's already one of the highest rates in Maryland. Additionally, this bill has no cap on how high this special transfer tax rate can be. We believe that Anne Arundel Real Estate already contributes enough money to the county's revenues to fund a housing trust. In fact, since fiscal year 2019, the county has collected $386 million in new money from real estate. In addition, Anne Arundel Real Estate contributes almost $1 billion per year to the county revenues. Yet very little of this has been dedicated directly to housing. Moreover, this administration already raised property and income taxes and could have, yet didn't, choose to fund a housing trust with even a portion of these additional revenues. This is the fourth bill this session that proposes to increase the transfer tax rate, and we're concerned about the negative effect this would have on real estate market if they were all to pass. Last, but certainly not least, we believe that authorizing a transfer tax increase on the struggling commercial real estate market now during COVID is a terrible idea. Please do no harm and vote no on HB 933. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brand. I believe we may have missed one person in support, so we're going to go ahead and try to pick Alderman Gay up. If you have any testimony.
Yes, definitely. Thank you guys very much for having me and giving me the opportunity to speak. I'll be fast because I know we're pressed for time. My name is DeJuan Gay. I'm the Alderman of Ward 6 in the city of Annapolis. I have the honor of chairing the Housing and Human Welfare Committee, the current aldermanic liaison to the Housing Affordability and Community Equity Development Commission, and I'm the co-chair of the City of Annapolis Housing Affordability Task Force. I'm in support of HB 933 and the creation of the Housing Trust Fund Special Revenue Fund, requiring that certain revenue attributed to certain transfer and recordation tax rates be paid into the fund. I'm supportive that because I'm reading from our needs assessment report that we produce, and this is the number of years of family income to cover the purchase of a home based against the median family income. And Annapolis ranks amongst the worst at 5.47. That's among the likes of Seattle, Miami, New York, and San Diego. According to the United States Census Bureau American Community Survey, the median household income in the city of Annapolis is $83,948. When we then compare that against the typical home value in Annapolis, which according to Zillow reporting is $459,118, that reflects a 4.1% increase in the last year fund, and that's predicted to increase. I think this puts us in troubling waters when we've already talked about extremely vulnerable populations in the city of Annapolis that struggle to afford housing and that have been overlooked. A part of
Alderman Gay, please summarize.
Absolutely. A part of our recommendation and the City of Annapolis Affordable Housing report was to create a trust fund as well. And I think this trust fund could help us. Additionally, I don't think that is just about first-time home option buy, but the trust fund should be specific for opening and closing costs for townhomes and also for security deposits, because there are vulnerable populations that can't afford homes, but they need a place to live. And that may be in apartments, townhomes, etc. So I'm in support of this, and I think the revenue is greatly needed.
All right, thank you so much. I know we had, Madam Secretary, someone else in opposition.
We have 3 more registered in opposition. Tom Ballantyne.
All right, Mr. Ballantyne.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. County Executive, members of the delegation. My name is Tom Ballantyne. I'm the Vice President for Policy at NAIOP, Maryland. We're a commercial real estate trade association. From our point of view, Housing Trust Fund may be part of the solution, but the factors contributing to housing affordability problems in the county are complex, interconnected, and we've got concerns with this proposal for both policy and technical reasons. Transfer tax surcharge hit commercial real estate especially hard, but also would increase taxes on apartments and land transfers that are within the development process. During 2019, multifamily transactions were the largest segment of commercial sales. 34% represented $383 million of commercial sales during that year. Land transfers are only 5%, but they're usually steps within the development process, which results in the stacking of taxes as raw land turns to development lots, and then when buildings are sold, and they transfer taxes applied at every stage. Commercial real estate already pays a disproportionate share of the cost of services. Between 2010 and 19, the tax base in the county grew, but almost all of that came from commercial real estate. Growth in assets and growth in tax revenues resulted from that. We've got concerns from a land use policy point of view. The interrelated part of this is really important, the supply side. And by most common metrics, the current land plan has very low amounts of development capacity. Much of the residential capacity is either
Mr. Ballantyne, please summarize.
or in commercial zones. And I share the technical concern that was brought up earlier about whether it applies to the entire amount or the increment.
All right,
Thank you very much
so
for the
much.
opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much, sir. Madam Secretary, next.
Lori Graff.
Ms. Graff.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair, Ms. Chair, members of the committee. I will be very brief. I know you're pressed for time, and you've already heard from Mr. Brand and Mr. Ballantyne about our concerns. I'm the CEO of the Maryland Building Industry Association. We are a residential trade association. And I will say our #1 issue every year is housing affordability. I do want to make sure everybody understands there's a difference between affordable housing and housing affordability. Those are 2 primary issues for us. I just wanted to circle back with one thing that's a very important piece of this. We often, when we think about $1 million and more, think of the fancy house on the water, but this certainly does capture apartments, multifamily, and other transfers that take place that could have the opposite effect of making apartments more expensive and other pieces of property more expensive. So for those reasons, we really would oppose this legislation, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Graff, and thank you for making it under the limit. Madam Secretary, who's I believe our last person?
Jesse Keller.
Mr. Keller.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jessie Keller. I'm
Ms. Keller, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm Government and Community Affairs Manager for Maryland Multi-Housing Association. We're a trade association of residential property management companies, including 114 communities in Arundel with over 27,000 apartment units. As housing providers, we witness firsthand Maryland's housing affordability problem and its impact on residents, which COVID's exacerbated. We'd like to note that our members have not been immune to the financial challenges our residents face. We do an ongoing monthly survey of delinquency rates, and our more affordable market rate housing, the C-class properties have been running about a 33% delinquency every month, which has been a devastating blow to revenue for the industry. An increased tax rate, especially at this time, would be devastating for property owners and managers, as well as residents alike, as increased costs would likely be passed on And so at this time, we would oppose this legislation and request that the delegation not approve this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Keller. Okay, Madam Secretary, have we exhausted the witness list?
Yes.
Okay, at this time, I know there are a couple questions, and I just want the delegation to be, my colleagues to be mindful. We do have Delegate Chisholm's bill that we would like to hear. So I see Delegate Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Yes, just very quickly, County Executive, is there plans in the works, or is there current legislation that you plan on submitting to the County Council in reference to this legislation?
No, we would wait to get the authority before we put that together.
So, but you are planning to put something together?
Yes, I do intend to do that.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Oh, Delegate Bartlett.
I just wanted to take 2 seconds to thank Delegate Henson and all her work that she has done with respect to affordable housing in our county, and the work that she has done, including with respect to this particular bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Bartlett. So with that, that concludes the bill hearing for House Bill 993. With that, I'll turn it back over to Chair Bartlett for the hearing of House Bill 1136.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. House Bill 1136, Anne Arundel County Alcoholic Beverage Licenses Annual Fee. Delegate Chisholm is the sponsor. Delegate Chisholm.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you, Anne Arundel County delegation. And out of respect for everybody's time, I'm just going to shoot from the hip and tell you exactly what this bill does and what this amendment does. So this is to reimburse some of the different alcohol license classes, their alcohol license application fee. For instance, most of them pay anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000. We were just talking about affordable housing. These really are the people that are the crux to keeping people employed. To have affordable housing, you really need a flourishing economy. You need a solid economic base for these people to be employed in good jobs. I spend most of the time off between when we last left session and came here, helping as many small businesses as I could. I would tell you the one industry that continued to get punched in the mouth all week long and twice on Sunday was restaurants and some of these, even the clubs. So what I did was I drafted this legislation to reimburse everybody that applied for a liquor license last year, but was not able to use it. So people much like small restaurants, the Elks Club, the American Legion, a lot of these, I know the Rents Club was brought up. These type of clubs and these basically individual enterprises, who is not in this legislation is the franchises, the hotels, the airports, and the liquor stores themselves. They all made it through fine. But the ones that I really wanted to at least pay back for a license they paid for were not able to use or were extremely diminished in what they could do with that license they paid. But I did make a promise to the alcohol chairman that I would make this revenue neutral for them because I didn't want them to have to cut jobs or make any budget cuts. So I made an amendment to the bill. We heard testimony last week that said typically they pay out all of the expenses of the alcohol board, and then there's $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 sometimes that goes back to the general fund. I would like those surplus funds to go back to the people that pay for these Class B, C, D, H licenses, just to give them some reimbursement to help them with their businesses so they can stay open. It's not going to change their lives, but it's just a small step to say, hey, we know that you got hurt really bad last year. You paid for a license you weren't able to use. We're going to reimburse you at least a percentage of it. And what I mean by that is right now, the alcohol board takes in $1 million a year, just around that number. Last year, the enterprises that I want to get a small or a reimbursement for paid $500,000 of that.
Delegate Chisholm, could you wrap up, please? Thank you.
Right. So there's an amendment that just says look, this is not going to hurt the alcohol board. This is just a reimbursement of whatever percentage is coming back to the people that paid for their liquor license last year that were not able to use it fully. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Chisholm. Do you have any witnesses?
I do not.
Okay, and it looks like Delegate Howard has a question perhaps?
Yeah, real quick, Brian, as we approach the 1-year anniversary of 2 weeks to flatten the curve, I want to thank you for the legislation on behalf of especially social clubs in Maryland. But also too, do they have the ability to, are you trying to get them to send a check? Essentially, are you trying to get them to send a check, and do they even have the ability to do that? Or are you thinking about, like, as they move forward in relicensing, because it's a yearly thing, that they would just knock a certain percentage off of the relicensing fee?
Yeah, we looked at either doing the reimbursement or the rebate, and I'm still trying to talk to the comptroller's office. I didn't understand all this, but the money comes into the comptroller's office and then he pays out the expenses of the Anne Arundel County Alcohol Board, and then he a separate check to the general fund. So you could take that general fund and then reimburse all of this different establishments. And I thought the reimbursement was better because unfortunately, a lot of these people have been put out of business and they paid since weren't able to use it. So as a small token of, look, sorry you lost your business. Here's the money back for the license you didn't get to use.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate Howard. Thank you, Delegate Chisholm. I see no further questions. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Bye.